I thought I muted you.
Well, you can't. You see, Billy, when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have done with it, including
Goes
30
crazy.
seconds, stand by.
Your parents will make it right. They're going to visit EnergySavers.gov where they'll get tips on how to save energy and money. And they'll add extra insulation. Get a few of those Energy Star appliances. You can save hundreds of dollars a year. And you know what, Billy? What? They'll take you to the state fair.
If we got a spot, we got to take your break at the bottom. So after your things that's on my mind, okay?
What's that? We'll take a break, you said?
After you do what's on my
Okay,
mind.
all right.
Here we go, stand by.
Well, good evening, second all. You've tuned into another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am your host, Kareem Bowen, and I'm so glad to be with you all on today. Hey, it is amazing outside. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe this weather. But we are going to have an amazing conversation today. I had to make sure that I wasn't distracted by all of the warm weather on today. I think we have 2 or 3 more days left of this good stuff. I felt like I was in Florida. This is absolutely amazing. I want you guys to do me a favor. Those of you who are coming in, I see some of you guys tuning in to us via social media. But those of you who are coming in and are part of our social media audience, I want you to tag this, share this, tag some friends into this, share it to your page, do a watch party or whatever it is that you want to do. But I want us to get into this conversation because I think that there is, we got a lot of great things that are going on. We know what it is. The election is over. And so we're going to get into this conversation on today. All right, y'all. All right. So I want to get right into it. You know how we do. We start off with talking about what's on my mind. I got my man in the studio with me on today. My man, Steve Hartwell says, what's up, Steve?
What's up, Steve? No. I had to. Corny
what are we
dad
going to do with
joke.
this guy here?
Hey, corny dad joke.
All right, Corny Depp. We're so glad to have him in the studio with us on today. We got a really prolific conversation that we're going to have today. I want to start. What's on my mind? First of all, my guy. Oh my goodness, I found this out today. The Alex Trebek, the host of the beloved Jeopardy. What is Jeopardy? The man who has the linguistics ability that are unmatched to anybody on this planet. He passed away today at the age of 80. His battle was very alive and well known with pancreatic cancer, but he passed away today at the year of 80 years old. And I miss Jeopardy. It will never be the same. It would, I think, you know who I think they should have be his replacement, though. I'll tell you this, Steve, is Chris Cuomo from CNN.
Yeah.
I think he would be a great replacement, but rest in power, Alex Trebek. We will certainly miss you. You have a legacy that will be forever remembered in our hearts and in our minds. All right, I want to continue right on. Hey, congratulations are in order.
Yes.
We have a new president and vice president-elect, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This was a historic election, and we'll talk about the history. Let's talk about it right now. When we talk about it being a historic election, Steve, there were more people that voted in this election than any other election. Like over 150 million Americans voted. I think there's like 300 and something million Americans in the country. So that means everybody that was almost voting age. So many of us were out there. There were still a lot that did not vote, but when we look at this was historic because it was a record turnout. I think there was 75 million people that voted for Joe Biden and 70 million people voting for Donald Trump. That is nothing to turn your eye at.
The most voted for president ever in history.
Ever in history.
Ever in history.
So that means that some people were out there doing some great work and making some great things happen. So that was exciting to me. I'm always excited when people are engaged in the process. But it was also historic because for two other reasons.
Yeah.
One, because Kamala Harris, she is the first black woman, woman.
Yeah.
And first woman of color. I call her a black woman because when you look at her, she's not questionable. Yeah. But she was a part of the Divine Nine.
Yeah, she got the look.
And she went to Howard University. She got the pedigree and the history here. But a black woman that is the vice president also for women. It was an amazing opportunity. I was looking at her give her speech and was just kind of blown away. Just thinking like, I remember the moment of seeing President Barack Obama and what that meant for so many. And now we have another symbolically historic moment. It's historic, but it's symbolic of something that's greater to come. And the fact that we were able to see this wonderful woman take on. And then also, you call him Sleepy Joe. We call him Uncle Joe. Okay. We got rid of Uncle Ben. Now we got Uncle Joe. Okay. Uncle Joe, President-elect Joe Biden, being, I think, only the second individual to have served in a previous administration. He was vice president, that then came back later, and now is our president-elect. It was an absolutely amazing moment. What I thought was interesting, though, Steve, is when they finally announced, because everybody was glued to. I've never in my life been so glued to the TV like this.
Yeah.
And so for 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning, we were all sitting there like, okay. And I told myself on Friday, and I'm like, I am not going to sleep until I see Georgia flip to blue.
Right.
And I was just sitting there thinking like, okay, it seemed like they held all of the ballots in the back room, and I was just sitting there, and then eventually it turned and I passed out. But it was a great feeling to kind of watch that, and then to eventually hear that number 45 had been replaced. And I don't care how you feel about any of this stuff, but I am so glad to have this divisive spirit being removed from the highest office in our land. And so that is a good feeling. So those of you out there, celebrate.
But before you move on, though, let's touch on Georgia a little bit, because we got to speak about this hero, I call her.
I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm the host of this show here, okay? Look at this guy here. I'm going to take you off my screen in a minute. But he's in here, and we're going to have this conversation. Y'all get into this conversation because we're going to talk about something that's very important, especially those of you who are out there that are on Medicare. I need you all to call your grandmama, call your aunties, all of those retired GM people. They need to be in this conversation because we're going to have a conversation really today about some things that are very important, especially seeing how COVID has impacted us. Yeah. There are so many benefits. You guys need to make sure they get in here, all right? If you are on Medicare, make sure you're a part of this conversation because this has the ability to really change your life. All right, but we're going to get to that. I'm talking. Let me take my time. The next thing that I was going to say, as I was talking about waiting till Georgia flipped, because when we found out how many votes were left, and we knew where they weren't coming way out in rural Georgia, we was like, oh, this is a wrap. I wanted to see it happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to give you 3 names here, and I think this is going to go in your Shiro line of what you were going to say. But I want to start off with Representative James Clyburn, Stacey Abrams, Keisha Lance Bottoms. What say you?
Yeah.
What do you got to say?
Phenomenal. I mean, being raised by a strong black woman, I mean, it was just phenomenal to see. And also it was familiar because you take it that Stacey Abrams really got the election stolen. Governor Kemp suppressed the votes, did all kind of dirty tricks. She didn't get mad. She made an educated decision and she executed, phenomenally. And
hell hath no fury like a black woman scorned.
That's right.
Hey man, I ain't gonna get mad. I'm gonna get even.
Get even. That's right.
But let's look at this, and we talk about how this is what I consider to really be historic as well. When we look at this campaign was a fish that had fish that had gotten on surface somewhere, and somebody came up, picked it up, and dropped it back into the fish pond, and it jumped out, and it was about to die. It was on life support. We saw a campaign that was on life support They did not. Most people, his critics and even his supporters, were thinking that this dude would stall
Yep.
before he would ever be able to make it to a real presidential campaign. But James Clyburn came, South Carolina, and he said, "Hey, it's not that we know Joe, but Joe knows us." And he gave, that Uncle Tom. I don't mean Uncle Tom. Let me say Uncle Barry, Big Pop, whatever it is. Not Uncle Tom. He gave that very, what's the term that I'm looking? That very familial conversation. Like, now this is your uncle. I know you don't know him, but he gave that conversation and said, "Listen, this is what we're going to do, South Carolina, because we have relationship with this man. This is a good man." And he in and of himself resurrected a dying campaign.
Yeah.
They went on to win South Carolina, and then after that, hitting like wildfire. It was just absolutely amazing. And it's important, and this is why having elders in the community is so very important, because they shape, because they have the history of what has happened in life, and they're able to shape the direction and the course of our lives when we listen to them. And in this case, they listen. We listen. And so it was amazing. And then we went from there to Keisha Lance Bottom. She became,
Auntie
Keisha. We got Aunt Kamala and Aunt Keisha right now, right? But she became such a powerful force as it related to the social justice. And it is amazing how everything kind of played itself out. Who would think that something would happen in Atlanta, Georgia? I mean, in the way that it did right after George Floyd, that caused America to focus on that community. And her response to what happened with that young man that was shot in the back while he was running at that restaurant catapulted her into the limelight. And with that, she all of a sudden became the target of Number 45 and his constituents, which gave her a voice to speak to Black America and to Georgia at large. She began to use her voice. Then it was coronavirus and COVID and shutting down and fighting with the governor who wanted to just open things up. But it was a positioning, if you would, of sorts. I think all things work together. And we saw her then gain a voice and a position and a platform. I tell people there's a difference between a platform and a stage. A stage is for performing. A platform is for a purpose and a mission. And so she was given a platform and she used it well. And then who can we say, who last? Stacey Abrams, and I know that is your girl. What is it that you want to say specifically about Stacey Abrams that you call her your shero in this moment? Because, I think they all are.
Because it's a true comeback story. I mean, because we felt her defeat. We were all rooting for her. Even people who didn't live in Georgia was rooting for her because I felt like she brought something fresh and new to the table. And to see her get sideswiped like that, and I mean, to see her come back and flip a whole state, which I knew she had help of others, but she led that. That was her leadership. She did not decide to go somewhere and get a corporate job, which she very well could have. But she stayed in the fight and she's seen change. And I think that this right here is a moment where us as Black people are waking up to realize how powerful we truly are.
I hope we are waking up because I'm going to have now, you said something. Because I hope we are finally waking up, and I hope that we saw something, because I'm going to talk about what we learned in this election, and it was not a pleasant lesson that I learned. I spent about 14 hours mad. But I'm going to tell you why. But you're absolutely right. When we look at her, you want to talk about an election where she was robbed?
Yeah.
It was her.
Yeah.
She was robbed. She should, in fact, have been the governor of the great state of Georgia. But it didn't work that way. But she didn't throw in her marbles. She didn't throw a tantrum as other people do. She didn't refuse to quit. She just, I'm not going, okay, it is what it is. But trust me, I'm not going to leave. And she showed a veracity and a tenacity that is necessary for real change to take place. And so when we look at this, we resuscitated this campaign with Clyburn. Then Keisha Lance Bottom comes in and she began to work within the city of Georgia and making sure that every vote would be able to be counted, putting in provisions for polling and additional places to vote and that kind of thing. So she did her part in Atlanta, one of the biggest counties there. And then we see Stacey Abrams. She didn't disappear, but she went back and she added 1 million additional Democratic voters from the black community. Okay. So this is what I'm saying to you all. So she in essence is the one who delivered the victory
Right.
because Clyburn did South Carolina, Keisha did the city of Atlanta, but she came in and she worked statewide, adding 1 million additional voters to the pool. And they're likely that is likely to be the deciding factor in what has taken place. Now, this is what I want to say. She mobilized and registered over 800,000. It was 1 million Georgians to vote. Give her a Nobel Peace Prize. Deanna, you are absolutely right out there. But this is the thing. We have been talking for so long about an urban agenda, a black agenda. Let me say that because urban is a whole bunch of folks that live in urban communities.
Mm-hmm.
We have been talking about a black agenda, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking about who would be open. We got, I told you I gave the clown crown to a number of our hip hop celebrities that are out there. And Ice Cube, I'm sorry, you are still suspect. So even though you did not come out and endorse, you are still riding with the coons and you are guilty by association. Okay, so what I'm saying is this here. We have been in this position. We have now shown the value.
Yeah.
And I talked
Yeah.
months before this election about the power of the black vote. Okay.
Yeah.
And for this one time, we saw that the number one mission was to get the Agent Orange out of the White House. That was, I don't care how you feel, but we got to start somewhere. And we literally handed the Democratic Party a victory in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm saying. This is now when you begin to recognize what it is that you have brought to this party. And I think it comes now, it's incumbent upon those same leaders. I'm waiting for Clyburn. You go in there, stop tiptoeing. You have the power that you take. You have the authority that you operate in. And what I mean by that is stop tiptoeing through the tulips. Stop being afraid to say black people. We want to use this POC term, people of color, but we're talking about black people because that's who handed this victory to you. And it's okay. It's okay for us to go in and say, this is what black people in America deserve. This is what they need. I think the Democratic Party needs to make sure that they embrace us because we saw a fleeting number of, especially African-American men that are saying, look, if y'all not going to respect us, then we're leaving. We out of here. Yeah. And so we can no longer be taken for granted as a people, as a voting bloc. But we are a core piece of the Democratic Party, and we want to be treated as such. So treat us accordingly.
And I'm going to say this, because by showing our power of voting, our price is no longer just carrying hot sauce in your purse.
All right.
Hillary Clinton. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see over these next election cycles how they are preparing and strategizing on how to appeal for the black vote.
Absolutely.
Because our value just went up. Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this was reminiscent. This is reminiscent to me. And we're going to take a break right after this, Rob, and we'll get to the rest of this conversation later. But this is reminiscent of me, the situation that they're inheriting. Joe Biden all over again, president-elect, you're coming in with unemployment numbers high that you inherited from George Bush your first time around. We have a serious issue. Before it was the housing crisis. Yeah. Now there's the healthcare crisis, and we have a need where we are divided and need to get back on track. Do you think that he's up for the cause?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Because look at what they inherited him and President Barack Obama done. They always surrounded themselves by smart people. And then when you think about Kamala Harris, her father was a professor at an Ivy League school, and he has a doctorate in finance. So Wall Street has already embraced her.
Absolutely.
Because she understands that sector.
Absolutely.
So I have no doubt in my mind. The question is, will we get the Senate?
And we're gonna let's talk about that real quick. But we're gonna talk about our crybaby president that refuses to concede, that refuses to give up and just accept the election as what it is. And we're also going to talk about your prophetic Karen who has gone wild when we return, Paula White. Stick and stay after this break. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk.
Straight Talk.
That is
on Kiss 107.1.
Some people said thank you for calling the Angels from Africa.
2 minutes.
I got you. I got you. All right, for those who are out there, get our family in here. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about really the things that we must do in our community now that this election is over.
Yeah.
And we're also going to address, and it's imperative that we do it, strike while the iron is hot. But we're also going to talk about, I got to talk about the situation with Paula White and her prediction, her prophetic, I can't even call it, it's not a prophetic utterance. And I don't want to call it a pathetic utterance, but
It's time to hire.
yeah, prophetic Karen. Yeah.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor
We'll get to it. We'll get to it on the other side of this. Stay tuned, guys.
Indeed delivers
Actually, the stock market is
What's that?
already up. The stock
Oh, yeah.
market is already up 150 points pre-market right now.
Now, the thing that's going to be a little scary
Yeah.
about the situation is in order to really handle the coronavirus,
Yeah.
they're going to have to get mad at him before they be happy with him,
Yeah.
which means that he's going to have to pull back in terms of some of the openness. And some things are going to have to close up in order to containment for a couple of weeks in order for us to get back on track.
Well, you know, if we get the Senate, there will be a lot of subsidies that will come along with that second stimulus because they passed the HEROES Act. I mean, that was like a $2 trillion package.
Yeah.
So if they get the Senate, I mean, we in there.
Simple solution. Rent a Rug Doctor Pro Deep Cleaner for $34.99. Our powerful pro-grade suction pulls out dirt, bed accidents, even odors trapped deep below your carpet fibers. Rent a Rug Doctor today. Find your look.
Welcome back to Straight Talk, where you're giving it to you straight, no chaser, no filter, talking about the issues that affect you from Wall Street to Main Street. I want to give a shout out to all of our listeners out there. Rebecca, Garth Townsend, Stacey Crosby, Ruth Rushlow Phelps, Vivian Rankins, Carla Mathis, Deanna Hinton, Terry Reed, all of you guys that are out there in social media, come on, invite the family to the table. All right, let's make sure that we have this conversation. Deanna Hinton, she mobilized. I got your message out there, Deanna. Frank Sanders, and all of the rest of you that are out there, let's get into this conversation. Let's lean in, as we would say. Great morning. I see you, Bridget Pryor, out there. She said, let's talk. She's ready for this conversation. All right, so I want us to pick up where we left off at, which means when we were leaving, we were talking about number 45 throwing his crybaby tantrum, and he will not concede. And someone said to me, like, isn't it against the law to concede? No, actually, it is just one of the norms of our government. Our government operates by laws and statutes, the Constitution being the pathway by which we do everything. However, there are a set of norms that we are used to, and this president has ignored all of those things that are normal to this office. It is not a law, so he doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to, but it makes the transition of power very difficult, okay? So he also said that he has no plan to invite the president and vice president-elect to the White House. I'm not doing it. And as Deanna Hinton came in, and on my way into the studio, I saw the Trumplicans out on the corners of Bay, was it Bay into the Wawasi? With their signs of like protesting that. And this is very dangerous conversation because this is really eroding at the very fabric of one of our most sacred institutions of our nation, which are our elections. And so we want to make sure that let's not get caught up in Trumpville with that craziness. But since we're here, let's begin to talk about Prophet Karen. And I got to talk about this because, and as a man of faith, you're a man of faith, I'm a man of faith. We're both elders, pastors, whatever that situation is. And so I think that it's appropriate for us to have a little bit of conversation here because I think this is absolutely crazy. I've gotten so many people that were asking me like, so what do we call this? Because they love Paula White. You know, Paula White has been preaching in the black church. She has appropriated our style, our charisma in preaching, the very Pentecostal flavor by which she utilizes is not known
Yeah.
to most Anglo-Saxon or white churches.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a black. She preaches in the manner of black folk.
Yeah.
And there, you look at her church. She has a large percentage of black people at her church.
Bishop Jakes is one of her mentors.
Bishop Jakes is one of her mentors. This is why I gotta say we gotta start being attention. I hope that we realize some things, because this is what I'm glad the election is over. I'm glad number 45 had been defeated. I didn't doubt that was. I did for a little bit.
Yeah.
But what was the problem was this. I was a little bit upset that the margin of victory, especially here in Michigan, was so close.
Yeah.
Because what it allowed me to understand, and even looking at the numbers here in Saginaw, that there are a lot of people who say that they stand in support of us as black people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who we consider our friends, and they smile in your face. This is one of your sons, Rob, from your show. All the time trying to take your place, the backstabber. When they went into that election booth and they were secret, they voted for Donald Trump.
Yep.
And someone asked me this question, and I want to know what you guys are thinking out there that are in social media that are following this conversation. Somebody said, well, why are you so upset? It's their right to vote. Mm-hmm. And I agree 1,000%, but I want you all to hear me out real quick. Everyone has the right to vote for the candidate that they believe is best for our nation. Mm-hmm. When I vote for my president, I don't vote for a president for me. I vote for a president that is best suited for the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And what was so disconcerting in this situation was that these so many of these individuals were people, and even in his election, after the rhetoric, after the racist comments, the xenophobia, the homophobia, all of the craziness that was going on, that people voted for this man. Yep. And I realized that white America, in many cases, and this is not all of white America, but there are many people that are more concerned. America is selfish. And there are many people that are more concerned about my bottom line. I don't care about, I'm not concerned. I am more concerned about what my 401k looks like. Yeah. And I voted for my 401k understanding, I think racism and social justice are necessary or I need to leave. But in the secrecy of that ballot, it's not as important to me to vote for social justice or for change if it is not beneficial to me. And we saw this play out I think, on election day with these hair splicing numbers. How in the world could you have this man who is literally pulling the fabric of our nation apart? He has us seeing color like we've never seen color before. I felt like Louis Armstrong. I see hues of blue, grays, and green, whatever. But it was just that kind of thing. And I was really hurt in my heart. And I saw Van Johnson give an impassioned speech on CNN when he was talking. And he broke down.
He did.
But I understood his pain. Looking at everything that we have gone through as a black community, with man after man, woman after woman being beat down, abused, and killed at the hands of police. All of, with a president who said that these police were just doing their job, and people that were fighting for social change were enemies of the state, basically, and they were criminals and looters and all of these other things. And we have, skinheads who are very fine people. Yeah. It was It was a relief, and that's what I saw. The celebration was not about, I'm Joe Biden, yes, Kamala Harris, yes. I mean, they were never my top picks. They were not the people but there was a sense of decompression, a sense of relief that took place, just being able to know that in a couple of months, this foolishness is over from the top nation, from the top office of our nation. When you saw that, Steve, what was your feeling when you found out that this would soon be over?
I was elated when the forward think when it was going to be over. But I do got to take it back just a little bit. Okay. Because me and my mother, we had this conversation, because when you look at the data, black men voted for President Trump in record-breaking numbers. There were 55% of all white women voted for Trump. White men, his vote base declined, which means a lot of white males didn't vote for him.
Absolutely.
Black women in record numbers voted against Trump. And I just didn't understand how us as black men can vote for him. And so I was talking to my mom, and She said, well, you know what? She said, I think a lot of it had to do with Kamala. Because of her prosecution record when she was a prosecutor in California.
Don't break the laws. No, but go ahead. I'm just joking.
That's the conversation that we had, because I couldn't for the life of me think, how can a black man vote for Donald Trump? So when we first got the numbers first start coming in, I was scared, because I was like, we're going to have to deal with another 4 years of this. But then as the numbers came in, it told the true story.
But there's also, I'm going to tell you something that I find attractive, and y'all might think I'm crazy. Something that I found attractive about this president was that for the first time we had somebody who told you, look, I'm going to do this. You're like, that's illegal, Mr. President. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Well, I'm going to do it anyways. And he would do what he set out to do regardless if it was breaking a norm, if it's we're going to do a new norm. And there was something about him as a man that I found appealing, that you had a man that, walked softly and carried a big stick or whatever. He talked crazy. He acted crazy, but he did what he said he was going to do, regardless of what law it might break, regardless of what may have happened. And so that was interesting. So I'm bringing this back to the facts.
All right.
Prophetic Karen. So they asked me, like, what do you think of this? So Trump lost. Does that make her a lying prophet? I said, what it makes her is out of touch with God. And I'm not going to say what she is, but I think that she missed this.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, this woman was on there praying for angels from Africa and South America. I was trying to figure, like, I don't want no angels from Africa or South America. Don't angels come from heavenly places? I mean, but this has been consistent with who she has been.
It reeked desperation.
That's exactly what it was.
Dying.
It was a prayer of desperation.
Yeah.
And so what I say in this particular situation, Paula White gets none of my eartime.
Nothing.
When she started voting for him and standing up for him, all of them folks, I don't want to hear nothing from any of them. John Gray, you got a real good lesson real fast on where your money was buttered, but you got a whole list of situations you got to deal with right now. But the rest of them, and it's because how can you stand up for racism and the xenophobia, hating people from other countries, the lack of moral character, the denigration of women, just everything, and then say that he's the candidate that God wants and we stand behind him because of abortion. I've said this a million times. Yeah. How can you care for a child that has not been born when you have no empathy for the children that are already alive? This is real talk. Yeah. And so America, I hope y'all wake up, because what I realized, even in our local elections, and I had a conversation with one of our local people, and I was just looking, I was like, these Republicans, they're not like, oh, we're going to play. No. Even if they didn't like Trump, they voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah, they did.
Even if they didn't like what he stood for, they voted with him and they stood with him. And it is time for our black community to realize them. Stop playing these juggernaut games. You don't have to be something fancy just because you got $2 above board and you move out to the township or to another area. My man across the table got one of the biggest houses on the but anyways, but what I'm saying is that we got to stop allowing those things to define our politics and realize no matter how high you go, Ice Cube, 50 cents, 25 cents and a quarter. No matter how high you go or what element that you soar to or level you achieve, that you will still be a black individual. Yeah. And it's okay to have, Jeff, my man Jeff Bulls, the Independent Jeff is his podcast. He talks about his politics are black. And I didn't really understand that to the fullness of it. But when I began to say, like, if you don't care for your community, nobody else will. That's the lesson that I learned. Yeah. And so with that, we're going to shift. So Paula White, yes. No, she gets no airtime. No, I'm not giving you $19.95.99 for a seed offering. I don't want your towel. I don't want your ministry. I don't want your book. God bless you, and let the angels in South America and Africa come and whisk you away. God bless you. Bye, Karen. All right, so I want to they voted for tangibles. We vote on feelings instead of tangibles. Absolutely, Jeff. You're absolutely right. But I want us to change this conversation. Some of y'all will be like, I can't believe you're so mad. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to just I'm the angry black man. No, it's not that. And the fact of the matter is, I have now I'm going to be honest with you. My very best friend in life, not in my adult life, my entire life, is a white man. My absolute best friend, but he understands me and allows and supports me in being a black man. He could never vote for someone who would hold me down as a people, because it's not about color, it's about decency.
Right, yeah.
And how can we as people of faith say that the decent thing is to vote for somebody who abuses, calls names, makes fun of Handy? It just didn't make sense.
Right.
So anybody who supports him, I feel, is disconnected with who my God is. And so I know this ain't a religious program, but I'm going to tell you the 411 the way that I feel it. All right. So if y'all don't like it, I'm sorry. That's just where I'm at. All right. But I want to get here because the other thing that I talked about, the other thing that I learned, and I hope y'all listening to this, we have to begin now dealing with the issues in our community.
Absolutely.
We have to be able to begin to engage on what we call, you can call them 7 pillars, you can call them the 7 mountains, but they are the 7 spheres that we need influence, 7 spheres of influence that really run this world. Those 7 pillars or those 7 spheres are the media. We see that happening with Byron Allen, how they were blocking him, Comcast or whatever, what Turner, was it Turner Broadway?
No, it was Comcast.
Blocking him, you know, and he wants us to have more media, more power to the media. This dude is a media mogul. But that is one area. Media, government, we see that happening. Stacey Abrams, once again, much love, sister, because you showed us that we don't get mad and throw in the towels. You cannot change a system by being angry. You change a system by engaging. I said this to someone else. If you put a racist in a room by himself, he remains a racist. But we have to fill that room with everything that causes him to be a racist and causes him to fear, because racism is really built out of fear. What am I going to lose? What are they going to do? And they're going to do to me what they believe I've done to them. You understand? So we've got to be able to do that. So government, education, economy, family, and religion. And the last one is A&E. It is about our celebration. So arts and entertainment. So we've got to begin to do that. And what I began to look, I had conversations the day after. One brother called me. My church did a really nice series on grace and truth. It's available online. Appreciate that, my man, brother Kevin Smiley. I had a conversation immediately after the election. One of my brothers called me the first day of the election, and he said, "Hey, we need to get going on this grocery store situation." I had somebody else call me and say, "Hey, we need to get going. We need a black beauty and barber supply. Why is it that y'all sisters wear 20 bundles, 20 inches bundles of hair, 30 inches,
industry,
and don't buy any of it? Don't own any of it? Why do we not have our own stores?" You know, because we go to places and we buy things from people who will take our money. They walk us around the store. You break or you buy. Y'all know what I'm saying. And then they don't come. They don't invest in our community. We don't go to them when we want a patron for our books. You know, so why do we allow these things to happen? It is a poverty and a slave mentality that has to change. And that is no black or white. That's just like common sense. That's what you would call good business sense. Okay. So we need to begin to have those honest conversations. And I'm telling you, over at KBS Creative Business Solutions, it's going down. People, entrepreneurs, if you got $5 in the bank, you want to put your $5 in terms of what's getting ready to happen. We are getting ready to bring change into our community. We are getting ready to start businesses. We're going to support the opening and the jump starting of other businesses. We had a great opportunity to host the Lieutenant Governor. Garland Gilchrist, and also the representative came in, Kildee as well, Dan Kildee, and we were talking about this piece on empowerment. And my man that's across the table from me, Steve, he went in. When I say go in, it was like I could take a back. He went in, talking about the PPP money and how monies were not being used for black communities, and it's a shame. And he's like, look, I'm trying to do this for my community. I passed the credit check. I could pass all of the requirements. I had this, that, and the other, had collateral, and still got denied. Okay, so now I want to talk, because we're going to talk about this, because Steve, you have a Dawn Donut shop in Flint. Entrepreneur, we've heard that story. If you haven't, go check him out, because we get an amazing story with him. Now you're opening up another. Am I wrong to share this?
No.
Okay, there's another donut shop. Technically, it's still going to be Dawn's with your own personal spin, because you guys have been allowed to create some flavors.
Absolutely.
And what's the name of that thing called again?
The Sub Shop.
The other donut
Oh,
shop.
it's called Sugar Shack.
The Sugar Shack. So there is the Sugar Shack that is coming as well, and not to mention that there's also going to be a sub shop in both locations,
Absolutely.
Flint
Yep.
and in Saginaw. So this is an entrepreneur at his best. But it was the conversation that we had that struck me most, because with COVID happening, and I want to talk to every one of you all that are out there, especially those of you who are 62, 63, Medicare, you GM retirees, y'all need to lean in right now. Not right, R-E-T, right now, so that you understand what's going on. Many of you all don't realize this, and there's a lot that you're paying for, a lot that you're missing out for, because you don't realize. We don't check. We don't understand healthcare.
Right.
You know, they come and say, "What do you want to change?" We just keep the same plan. Well, my man is working on some things, and he's doing some things with Hartwell Mutual.
Yeah.
That he is addressing some issues and helping people get some services out of their healthcare, out of their Medicare experience, that you don't even have to pay for anything. Absolutely free. Steve, what are we talking about?
We're talking about people who receive Medicare, because that's an aspect of what my insurance agency do. We help educate, because when you turn 65, or if you're under 65 and you're placed on Medicare, you just get this huge book. And a lot of people, they don't understand Medicare and how it all works. So you could be having certain copays that you're technically not supposed to be paying, or getting extra help from the Social Security government with your prescription drug plan. A lot of them, they don't know how to fill that out.
So you're really talking, because there's a lot of people that are out there that are on Medicare, Medicaid, all this other stuff, and you have these prescriptions because, you know, by that age, the food that you ate in your 40s and the life that you lived in your 50s is now becoming the life that you live in your 60s, right? It becomes the medication that you take in your 60s. So you're talking to people who have a lot of issues with medicine.
Yeah.
I look at some people, they got 16 different medications.
Yeah, it's sad. And that's one of the reasons why we honed in on the Medicare, simply out of passion, because I was partly raised by my grandmother. And so I'm a granny's boy. So growing up around seniors, I've been my whole life. And so when you see the stories and you see the conditions that some of these people are in, it's truly heartbreaking. I've literally sat at tables where a couple says that we're trying to choose between our medication money and, grocery store money. So it's true. Those stories are true. It's real. I've seen it.
No,
and it's very common.
My grandmother did this. I'm like, Grandma, what are you doing? Well, just cut it in half. Why we cut it in half? It says take a pill. Well, just cut it in half because it's too expensive. I'm like, wait a minute. You got 95,000 kids. If we all gotta come on, you take your medication.
Yeah.
And so there are people that are out there, especially in this pandemic, that are struggling because of healthcare costs.
Absolutely.
So what was it that you're able to share with us that may impact this body of individuals that are out there?
Well, those who are on Medicare, we simply have a conversation. And we simply go over the medication, simply kind of a need analysis. And then we have the free resources with the carriers that we have. Unfortunately, we can't get into the details of the plan because we are regulated by the federal government.
Right.
So they censor a lot of our agents from getting into plan details. But basically, we have a conversation, and it doesn't cost you anything to sit down and talk and find out what free resources and options that are out there. I've had a conversation with a lady 2 weeks ago where she needed a medication to prevent her from having, she was fainting. So she could only get a portion of it filled, and she planned her life around these pills that when she have to go out, she'll take one. I was able to apply for her to get extra help with it is a simple, for less than 5 minutes. It took that $400 medication down to like $1.50. And I mean, it changed her life. Another lady called me. She has she's a diabetic.
Insulin. Okay.
Everybody know who's a diabetic. Those insulin prices are sky high and are ridiculous. We were able to assist her with the extra help that she needed. She literally called me crying and said she only paid $3. She was paying over $500 a month.
Wow.
So it's just things like that we can sit down and help and assist. And, what resources are out there that can help you. So I'm there to connect you with the right resources.
Okay. And the reason why this is so important, we're going to talk about this for a second, but we're also going to talk about some of these other areas where we have to begin to share information information
Absolutely.
and talk about coming together to share resources, because what you're talking about, when we talk about COVID, the issue with COVID is not that people don't recover from it.
Yeah.
So that's our wonderful number 45 who tells us it's 98% curable. 98. I'm like, well, I don't want to be a part of the 2%, but unfortunately,
Right.
we just happen to be by default, right? And when we look at this, it is those primordial conditions, those pre-existing conditions,
Yeah.
the diabetes,
Yeah.
the high blood pressure,
Yeah.
those kinds, over being obese. Okay, both of us are big men. We're going on a diet tomorrow, Steve. Right after you bring me some,
today.
right after you bring me some donuts, right? No, but those are the things that make this thing so ferocious, because it attacks those areas specifically and causes the experience or the results of this disease to be fatal in terms of dealing with our Black community. But we need individuals like yourself who are willing to go in and to do the work and to find out what is necessary. Now, Steve, if somebody is interested in what you are offering and what it is that you're doing, how can they get a hold of you to make sure that they can say, hey, how can I get, what it is that you're offering?
Okay, sure. We're in the process of getting a website done. However, we do have a fan business page on Facebook. It's called the Hartwell Mutual Group. And you can go there, inbox. We have a lovely assistant that will get back.
Steve, I am Medicare Plan B. I'm old and I don't do all. I can get on. I can dial a number, and that's about it. So how do I get a hold of you?
How do you get a hold of me? Okay. I don't know if I want to give my number out.
Okay.
Because you all over the world.
Oh.
So, I don't want nobody calling me you talking about Trump. No, I was just playing. So
go to Straight Talk's page, Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen, and you'll see the information on that page. You'll be able to get it from there.
Absolutely.
You can do that very easily. Of course, everybody on the planet has my number, so I throw that number out there everywhere I want to go. It doesn't even bother me. But inbox us, shoot a message, and then we will have that conversation. All right, so I want to. We're going to continue because you got what till December what?
7th.
December 7th. Please, people, I'm looking at my healthcare plan. I'm trying to figure out what needs to be different. Please take advantage. Find out what it is that you need. Find out if you're paying too much for premiums. Find out if your copay is too high. Find out if all of the stuff, your deductions, what are they? Let's please take time to read. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am not the smartest knife or the sharpest knife in the drawer. But so we need individuals who are going to be willing to talk to us about these things. If you guys have questions about your healthcare coverage, about your things, send them to me and I'll find out and I'll connect you with the person. I'll connect you with Steve and other people who are making sure we get done what we need. One of our callers or one of our viewers on social media, Jeff, says to us, hey, we can gather these resources at our local community centers like First Ward, which is where local politics come into play. We have to shift funds to our most important resources, less policing and more community service. Jeff, if I could have summed it up in any other way, you said it in a great way. We certainly love Michelle McGregor out there, First Ward Community Center. It's in the First Ward. It's in my ward.
And I got to give a shout out to Michelle because when we first started our agency, she opened the door to First Ward, which really put us on the map with one of our carriers. And it was from the community of Saginaw that made me and my wife the top 2 producers. I'm sorry. The top
You're going to get kicked off my show. You keep hitting this table.
I'm sorry. I just get a little excited. But I want to give her a shout out because she gave us a chance when we first came out the gate. And she helped put us on the map with one of our carriers that made us the top 2 producers in Michigan. So I want to give a shout out to Michelle McGregor, CEO over there, and thank you so much.
Okay, not only that, but I want us to continue this particular conversation because I was telling you that after this election, what I realized is a need for not only just Medicare and healthcare, those kind of things, but I think even medical clinics. There's a Jane Street clinic, but we need to employ and entice some of our Black doctors that are coming. And we got them to come in and begin to set up centers in our community. Individuals that aren't just doing medicine en masse, but really we need some individuals who understand the Black soma, the Black body, that have specifically taken time to research how we operate, how we process medications, because many of these things, our bodies operate and receive this stuff differently than other races do. So we need people who are taking time time to study in these particular areas. People who are looking to open up business. What are the other businesses? We talked about 7 pillars.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about media. Like, why do we not have a way for us to have black media here in the city of Saginaw? There's a whole bunch of people that have worked in television. There's a whole bunch of people who have been on TV, people who do music and entertainment, who have worked for the news, but yet we don't take the time to be the owners of content that we have. One of the big fights, and this is interesting because Kanye West, even though I did give him the clown crown, he made the statement that he wanted to buy his masters.
Yeah.
And he wanted to buy and have his own station, but he wanted his masters back. And he said that if you won't give me my masters, then I'll buy the whole company. And I think he was like saying $33 billion or something like that is what he was giving. And they were like, you know what? His numbers are about right. And when you look at what he's been able to do, he is positioning himself to be a real voice at the table when he says, if you don't give it to me, I'll buy my own or I'll create my own. And that is where we have to be America.
I actually want to intervene on that because that's one of the biggest battles that me and my wife had with Subway. It was a Subway that used to be in our building in Flint. We went to them. We met all the criteria to open a franchise. However, there was another location that fought us on that. He benefited from the city of Flint over $1.2 million a year and from our community. So when we got...
Well, won't let you into your community. And you're from Flint.
Absolutely. And they stopped us. And so I said, well, since you will not let us open, then I'll create my own sub shop. And we're working on opening up. The launch is next week in Flint. And then December 7th is going to be the launch of my second location in Saginaw because that rejection birthed innovation. Because if you own your brand...
he said rejection. Listen, did y'all hear what my man said? He said rejection birth innovation.
Absolutely.
That's powerful.
And so I've learned not to shun away from rejection, but realize that rejection sometimes could be the best thing for you because it can get you to believe when you don't have nothing else, you have yourself. You know, the gifts that God has put in you. So
I want let's talk real quick. Those of you who are listening out there, both on the the radio waves as well as social media, my man just said something that was really powerful, and I'm talking and I'm continuing this conversation, but I am really kind of reeling in my mind. Rejection breeds innovation.
Yeah.
Okay. I need us to figure out and have this real conversation. What is it that is necessary? And what is it that we can do as a community? Who are the players in our community? Mm-hmm. And when I talk about players, I'm not talking about people who are talking. I think we don't need any more think tanks. Don't invite me to any more think tanks.
Yep.
Where are the do tanks? Where are the people that are ready to move? Yep. And ready to make something happen? Well, I don't have the money. If you don't have the money or the resources, guess what? You still can make things happen. Mm-hmm. But you have to be a doer. And at some point, having think tanks are really good. But we've gotten to the point that let's have a think tank. Well, we already know what we need. Yeah. What you got to think about when you already see the handwriting on the wall. There's not a gas station in our community that's owned by black people, I don't believe. You have there are a couple restaurants. We have a number of restaurateurs that are out there that are providing good quality food. You're bringing another one into the community. We got a number of people that are doing credit repair and credit services, those kinds of things. But we need people that are going to create those anchor facilities. The grocery store, the hair store. Black people spend $3.7 trillion. Largely 80% of what we spend is on our maintenance. Yeah. It's on hygiene. It's on hair. It's on nails. And you mean to tell me that as a community of Saginaw, whether it's 50,000, I mean, even you say that's just in the city, but when you look at a community of Saginaw size, we don't have a single, I know we used to back in the day, but we don't have a single place that you can go and buy your Brazilian silky hair or your get your edges or whatever the cream. Like, there's not a single place that we have that we can do these things and buy. We have to begin to get away from this crab mentality. Yeah, I don't want to go there. They got too many. I'm gonna tell you, Steve. Well, you got two businesses. I ain't going over there to that restaurant because I ain't gonna be making him rich. You gonna eat somewhere. But we begin to take on this crazy mentality that we begin, if someone seems to ascend, we want to be like crabs in a bucket and bring them back down. We have to get to a place that we are pushing. Let's push all the crabs out the bucket and the last one out the bucket, reach down and grab the last one in there. But we've got to begin to understand that it is necessary for us to build these key places in our community. One thing I want to give you all a shout out for Saginaw, and this is so important, is that we passed the school bond. So this bond for this new education, there was a lot of people who did not want it to happen. Y'all can't do, and it's not the people who understand whose kids are in these schools, but they live in this community, but they didn't want to fund these schools. I'm going to tell you, the most powerful thing that we could ever do is to create a system in which our kids are able to compete. And I'm going to tell you, by passing that school bond, and I'll say this to you, I was out there looking, passing out flyers. Can we get a yes for the schools? I mean, because I recognize the greatest thing that this community gave to me was my education.
Absolutely.
And was I completely prepared to soar and to do what it? Absolutely not. But you know what? Understanding the importance of my education and the value of that education, it became a ticket, a passport for me literally to go around the world. And so I begin to say, if we can begin to lean in and tap in to say, you know what, for $240 a year, it's good for me to go ahead and or $400 a year. I'm willing to invest that into a child as a dividend, that I'm willing to invest that and reap our reward of someone who has been empowered by a good education. So this is the thing. Now I want to begin to ask those of you who are out there, as we're talking about this, what element of who you are, your experience, your expertise that you have, that you are not utilizing to make our community better. And I say that because I realized that there were a number of businesses that I operate and I've worked with, in my previous career. And, there were needs that were happening in my community, but I didn't realize that the needs that were necessary in my community, I had the experience that I had because I was the answer for those needs. We have what we need in our community.
Absolutely.
But it is up to us. It's incumbent upon each of us to not section off. This was my previous life. I was a great accountant back then, and we need somebody to teach financial literacy. And you're waiting for somebody to teach financial literacy, but you were a certified accountant, but now you're retired. You have a responsibility.
I'm so glad you said that, because the guy who we bought the building for in Flint, he's an Indian guy. And me and him have some private conversation, and I won't get into detail of the conversation. However, his money, portion of his money goes back to India to support his family and to support the temple. They're very religious over in India. And so I think that it's very important that you would support your local business owner and also ask them, how are you giving back to the community? Because what these businesses do for me is it helps me to create what you said, help youth become entrepreneurs. Because that is the key to closing, I believe, that wealth gap.
All right.
Ownership.
You said it right. And so when we talk about this, and this is leading into a piece of this that I think is so important. And this is the part that we have to jump on ASA yesterday. We have to begin to not just have these conversations, but pull people in together that have the ability, the know-how, and the wherewithal to make these things happen. Now, I think this is interesting because you brought up something. The store in Flint was owned by an Indian man.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a xenophobe. I don't have any issue with that. But we're afraid to start a Subway. We're afraid to start a convenience store or a grocery store. And I have to check myself as well, because I'm like, oh, that's a lot. But there are people that come to our country with very little or no ability to speak English. Yes, they get tax incentives, but guess what? You got a head start because you speak English.
Yep.
And we are afraid of failing. But, we go in the street, they tell you what, scared money don't make money.
Yeah.
And so we're afraid of failing. But there are people that come here that have nothing, and they say, look, if I don't succeed, then I die.
Yeah.
But we have been given so many instances that we'll buy a house, we'll buy a car, we'll put rims on the car, we'll have, all of this crazy stuff. And these things depreciate the moment that you get them, but we're too afraid to risk stepping out on faith.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. This is a faith walk.
Yeah.
To step out on faith and believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The power and the ability that you have to bring change in your community. But we see the Indian community do it. We see the Persian community do it. People from Iraq and people, the Chaldeans, they got a whole, listen, this is really true. People, Saginaw, come on, listen to me, surrounding areas. This is a real conversation.
Absolutely.
You can go down to Dearborn, and I love it. You can go to Dearborn, and there is an entire community of Chaldeans. Now, Chaldeans are Christians, for those of you who don't understand that. They're people in the community. Now, there's a lot of Muslims down there as well, but there's an entire community from the Middle East that has built an entire community. They buy from their own. They sell to their own. Mm-hmm. They patronize their own. They refer their own, and they turn that money over in their own community. And here we are, okay? We have been here all of these years, and there have been a number of things that have been responsible for our demise when we got our own. Mm-hmm. But there's a model that already exists out there.
Yep.
What is the model I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what I'm talking about pertaining to my business.
Oh, okay. But there is a model that it's Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
And it's that same community aspect where we own, we buy, we sell, we patronize, we refer. We turn a dollar over in our community, but we've got to get out of this fear that we don't have the ability or the wherewithal to do it because we can.
It's a model already in place because that was one of the key to our expansions. We simply took the guy who we bought it from. He showed me the model, and I just follow his example, and that's how we expanded. So if you follow the model, it's already there. You just got to plug into it.
Okay, so Saginaw, this is what we're going to be doing. There's some serious stuff happening. We're bringing it together. We're going to follow the model to bring what is necessary into our community. Go to Steve Hartwell and the Hartwell Mutual on Facebook. Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I thank you guys. An hour goes by so fast. Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you. Grace and peace.
You've been listening.